My whole life changed the day I met Jazz because she's the most spectacular woman I've ever met. Even though I've never met her in person, she's with me in really weird subliminal universe ways. I talk to her in my head. And that's weird. You don't just want to be like, I see stuff move in my apartment. But I do. She's everywhere. There's not a place in my apartment that Jasmine's not. There's not a place when I walk outside that Jasmine's not. She can actually move hangers, and if you pay attention, she's moving this one. Like, this is my girl. Isn't that cool? In a sense, I've been in a relationship with myself for 8 months, but I know it's Jazz inside me, and it's a real relationship.
Well, Jasmine is a total stranger, has no idea who Bailey is, and for 8 months, Bailey has bombarded her with thousands of love messages. Now, Jasmine says she can't seem to get rid of this girl.
I'm being cyberstalked by a girl I never even met. Bailey calls me her mother and even her God. The first message that I received on Twitter from Bailey was about 8 months ago. She said that she was in a relationship with another person pretending to be me. I told Bailey that I wasn't who she thought I was, but she insists that she knew me.
Jasmine speaks to me in pictures, emojis, and her posts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
I'm not talking to her through her walls, her brain, or my Instagram posts. I'm afraid one day she's gonna hurt me or herself.
I think there have been some traumas that you have experienced. And in September of 15, there was a stairwell attack at school. And we don't need to go into a lot of detail about what it was. You and I know what all was involved there because you've been forthcoming with us about that. But it was certainly traumatic, right?
Yes, sir.
And by the way, I'm very sorry that that happened to you. That's not okay. Then next, summer of 16, you experienced rape by a friend. That's very traumatic. And then somewhere between summer of 16 and October, November, which we'll get to in a minute, there was an isolated incident with a boyfriend that was drunk, and you were abused in that isolated incident. And then October, November of 16 is when the miscarriage takes place. I'm very sorry for that as well. And then February, assault again, this time hand around the neck, throws you against the wall, hits your head against the wall, enough that you've got to go get an MRI. And that's not good. So we have this trauma, this trauma, this trauma, this trauma, this trauma, and it's the very next month that you start this obsession with Jasmine. Sometimes, as a defense mechanism, we do what's called dissociate, and we decide it's much safer if we just kind of live in our heads a little bit. Explain to these folks what dissociation and escapism is when you get to, stress gets too much and people just to kind of unplug and go away mentally and emotionally.
Well, when the stress gets too tough, it gets to be a really painful psychological place. And then they run to wherever they can go. And usually they'll find some place of no resistance. And there was no resistance in this situation. There was nobody to talk back to her. It was all on the internet. There was no voice to be heard, no real face to be seen. So it's a safe, non-resistant place where it's pain-free.
Yeah, and in this case, there was really low demand on her, right? Because there was no requirement, because the other side of the relationship wasn't asking her to do anything.
Right.
So she didn't have to perform, she didn't have to reciprocate, she didn't have to listen to her problems. It was all one-sided, it was all fanciful playtime.
Yes, 100%, because the thing is, in all of the violations that she went through, she had no control. And in this one, she has control. It's pain-free, and she's got all the control. That's what she's looking for.
Yeah, and the bridge, I think, here is because she was violated against her consent. Obviously, violation is always against your consent. But she felt like her right to give permission or consent was taken away from her. And that's what I think created empathy for her with Jasmine, where
right.
she said, okay, I've done that to her. I know how that feels.
Right.
That's going to give her the motivation to stop.
Absolutely, and that's a good foundation to begin the work that we're going to do with her.
Yeah, so we're going to do a lot of work with her in her hometown, and it's going to involve psychology, psychiatry, support with the kind of friends that really life coach her and keep her headed in the right direction. But right now, what she needs is not a new relationship. What she needs to do now is heal the relationship she has with herself,
right.
and then with her mother.
Right.
And when that gets right, then we can build on it from there. Yep. So if you're doing that in your own life, ask yourself what you're running away from.
Right.
Because you got to deal with that. Thanks.